address criticism with witticism. Immune to these naysayers and cynicism. Birth you rap as soon as he spit his jism.
What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker. Thank you guys for watching Unique Access Entertainment. Be sure to subscribe, hit that button down there so we can keep bringing you guys these great interviews. And of course, like, share, and get us out there, man, because we want to keep, growing and becoming the premier #1 destination for all your interviews online. And today, we have the honor and privilege of being joined by two outstanding artists, Bobby J from Rockaway and Daru Jones. Thank you guys both for coming through. It's a pleasure to have you guys, and they've recently released the One Mic and Drum album, and very excited to talk about that today. So let's start with Daru. Since you're the drum component of this enterprise, the thing that I thought was interesting about it was that every song is less than 3 minutes. So from a creative, structural, sequence, overall creative side, why did you guys decide to make the tracks shorter?
That's a good question. Also want to thank you for having us on your platform. Thank you for your time. To answer the question, we just kind of wanted to go back to bare bone, when the DJs, the essence of hip hop, as y'all know, one of the essence of hip hop was all about DJs finding breaks and looping them, you know what I'm saying? And then they were definitely trying to, they had a hype man. The hype man was like, throw your hands in the air, like a whole party vibe. And then they would call the MC up. Or sometimes that hype man would do a hot 16, you know what I'm saying? And that was the thing. So we kind of wanted to pay respects to that and pretty much make it like a freestyle. Like, are you familiar with like the BTs when they do the cipher, you know what I'm saying? So they would have Premier, pick a break, and then they would have, like 4 or 5 MCs. They would spit like a hot 16 or more bar verses. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to make it like that, like Bobby spit your best 16 over, over this drum break that I'm some of the stuff that I made were definitely organic, and then some things were inspired by other old school, breaks, and we just made our own interpretation. But yeah, that was the vibe. That was the vibe. Just trying to go back to just, putting on a beat and a rapper getting excited, and let me put 16 on that. You know what I'm saying? And people's attention spans, they're really short. So we just wanted to kind of keep it straight to the point. Some songs had a hook, but some songs didn't. You know what I'm saying? So that was the vibe.
Yeah, it's a very interesting project. So I recommend to people that haven't heard it or haven't listened to it yet that they check it out. And for you, Bobby J, the thing I thought was interesting is because of working with Kwame, Static Selector, and other people you work with on the production side, that they obviously have a lot of stuff that's sample built, which has melody and other instrumentation built in, and this doesn't have that. So how was that, from a writing perspective, different approaching this project, the One Mic and Drum, compared to a sample-based type of production?
Well, I think, to add on to what Daru was saying, is just, we wanted to do something that was the polar opposite, essentially, of what is going on commercially now in hip-hop. It's like, a lot of times, some of these projects are overproduced. You get the right engineer in the room. You can make somebody who can't sing sound like they can sing. You can make somebody who's offbeat, on beat. The whole purpose of this project was to capture a feeling, essentially. It's like almost like a jam session, you know what I'm saying, on put to wax, like even down to the very way the songs are engineered, the way the vocals sound. It's almost like I told the engineer, I want to sound like I'm in the room on a handheld mic rapping this stuff to you. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of bells and whistles. It's a rawness that I feel is missing from a lot of contemporary, not just hip hop music, but just music in general. You know what I'm saying? So that was really the vibe we were going for, and like Daru said, some stuff you could consider songs, some stuff was freestyles, but at the end of the day, like, the most hip hop thing you could do is just throw on a drum beat and rap over it. You know what I mean? It's like the greatest instrumental of all time is the bridge to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put on MC Shan's The Bridge, like, who's not going to want to rap over that? So we're just trying to, you know, in a lot of ways, duplicate and recreate, but also reinvent, you know, the breakbeat, you know, the marriage of the breakbeat and the rapper. And also, this project is kind of for the DJs as well, you know, the DJs and the producers, the people that are always looking for new break beats, new break loop stuff to sample. You know, we want people to listen to this project and take from it what they want. You know what I'm saying? If you're a producer that is looking for snare sounds or kick sounds or whatever, like, go nuts with it. You know, we want to facilitate that, because I feel like, and going back to your question, you know, I'm a huge fan of sample-based hip-hop. Sampling is so discouraged these days. You know what I'm saying? I can't count the amount of times people say, you know, don't sample, or, you know, if you must sample, download my sample pack so that you don't get sued. You know what I'm saying? It's, we want to make something that speaks to, you know, the producers and the artists out there that still, you know, still are digging in the crates, still looking for new sounds, still looking for drum sounds and drum loops. So, you know, that's really what this project was. You know, it's experimental, it's going back to basics, but at its core, you know, me and Daru just went in the studio and had fun, you know, and I think that was really what we were trying to capture, is just trying to have fun and go in there with no expectations and see what we come up with.
Yeah, well, that's interesting too, because Daru, one thing that I really liked that you guys had in there was the break interlude, how you had 8 of them.
Yes.
One thing that I always liked with the old records back in the day, where you had Public Enemy had their interludes and Pete Rock and CL Smooth had their interludes, but we don't get that as much anymore. And I like the fact that we had them. So for you, Daru, what was A, why do it, and then B, why have 8? Why have so many?
That's a good question. So basically, you just kind of answered one of them. Yeah, I was always a fan of those interludes, like from the Pete Rock, you know, and Premier would do it too. But sometimes interlude beats were like almost as strong as the one of the records that was on the project. So it was we wanted to bring that back. But what was going to make ours unique was it was just all drums, no samples. So that right there. And while we had 8, because we basically just wanted to be an interlude, a piece in between every song. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the whole vibe. We had the intro and outro. That's how they did back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? When you listen to those Wu-Tang Clan and those records that had skits, you know what I'm saying? They always had an intro and they had an outro, right? So we wanted to go, stick with that formula, and we just put the interludes in between, and that was the whole vibe. That was the whole vibe, yeah. Because we wanted to give people an experience. You know what I'm saying? You know, nowadays you hear a record and it's no diss. Everybody have their own, concept when they're doing their projects. But for this album, I noticed the stuff that I like. It's the albums where I feel like it's an experience. You know what I'm saying? Like when I listen to like the Minstrel Show by Little Brother, all those, the album is cool, but to me, the interludes is what make the record dope. You know what I'm saying? Because of the skits. And I feel like back in the days, I know the budget was crazy for those artists, but it seemed like they took out a lot of time to prepare them skits. It was like a movie, like a soundtrack. So that's one of the things, because, people may not understand just the drum and the raps, and it may be boring to some people, but we don't know why people was going to like the project. They might like the project because of skits, you know what I'm saying? Or they might like it just because of the drums. They might like it because of Bobby's rhymes, but we just wanted to be able to, find a way to give people something where they can find a way to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole reason.
Yeah, and I think too it's important because on the skit side, of course, with N.W.A was doing it early in the game, Eazy-E, D.O.C, of course, but then on the older rap, once we get to, Run-DMC was very drum driven, Schoolie D's very drum driven, a lot of stuff didn't have a lot of musicality to it. So this reminded me of that in that regard. But that being said, on Tell 'Em in particular, one thing, Bobby J, I wanted you to talk about was not only did you have Eric B and Rakim references, but you stacked so many back to back to back. So what made that different to where you didn't want to just have one reference to them, but several right in a row?
That's the I address criticism with witticism. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Look, man, I like to, as a lyricist, I like to give the listener clues as to who I am as a person. You know what I'm saying? Like what my interests are. Like I feel like the thing that interests me so much about writing rap lyrics is like I could plant all these Easter eggs and place all these references and I like when somebody, whether it's a movie that makes me go back and rewatch, whether it's a television episode that makes me go back and rewatch, it's like, I didn't catch that the first time. Or, if there's an album that, really has layers to it, you go back and you re-listen to it. I try my best as a writer to, sprinkle little things in there where it's like, somebody who's of age who grew up on that stuff is going to get it right away, right? But a young artist, a young listener who's maybe in his 20s or maybe in his teen years, they may not understand all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it may take some growing up or them being more familiarized with old school hip hop to truly understand all those lines. And that's happened to me as a listener. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain lines where it didn't dawn on me what the rapper actually meant, like especially Wu-Tang Clan stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like how cryptic they were. And like, I remember being like 20 years old and this DJ named Ya Supreme, this is one of the funniest nights of my life. He broke down Supreme mathematics to me. And I had no idea what any of that stuff was. And then you go back and you listen to Only Built for Cuban Links, you listen to Liquid Swords, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's what Raekwon meant? That's what Ghostface meant? So it's like, that's the type of stuff that excites me, man. Like when there are layers to what you're saying, where it's not something that you could just digest in one sitting. You know what I'm saying? And I want to have the same effect on a young listener that those artists had on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's about to me. That's what the whole point of rapping is to me. It's like, I want that 12 or 13-year-old kid to listen to a verse I did and be like, damn, I want to rap like that. Because I know when I was a 13-year-old kid, I would listen to Big Pun and Jay and Nas and Eminem and Black Thought and be like, I'm never going to rap like that.
That's actually what happened, though, because Matt's kid did one of your verses, right? Was that Matt's kid?
Yeah, man. Like that's what bugs me out. That's what bugs me out, man. Because, me, I'm like the humblest guy in the world. Like I think, when I get on the mic, it's a different story. Like I'm all the ego comes out when I'm rapping. But to see, and what Daru's referring to is this thing we did called the One Mic and Drum Challenge, where we had users submit remixes to a song on the album called Look at What I've Become. And this guy Matt had his son rap on the song. And that's what it's all about to me, man. Like it's not about the money, it's not about the recognition. It's that somebody will listen to what I'm doing and want to pick up a pen or want to rap. You know what I'm saying? And that's really it. It's all about the competition in the sport to me.
Right. So. Speaking of competition in sport, Daru, one thing I was interested in is that since you have worked with some of huge artists in rock, rap, country, R&B, so many different genres, how do you, if at all, do you find your drumming changes when you're doing a one mic and drum project versus working with a Jack White or Dwight Yoakam or a John B, or how does it change, if at all?
That's a really good question. There's not too much changes in it because each one of those artists you just named, they hired me because they want me to bring my certain sauce and my expertise of what I do already to what they're doing, which is a blessing. It took a long time for me to work, get that brand off. But like when Jack hired me, it was funny because as a musician, what I've learned from my career is when you hire, you want to give your boss what they're looking for, right? And I'm always, when I'm getting hired from these people, I'm thinking about the producers. And I think that's worked in my favor because I've always wanted to respect the original composition, because I know when people come to concerts, that's what they want to hear. You know what I'm saying? They don't really want to hear no deviations or no extra notes, right? So just Jack White, for instance, as you know, the White Stripes was just him and Meg on the drums. And Meg, she wasn't the most flashiest drummer. Like she was very, very elementary, but it was a vibe. You know what I'm saying? So I knew joining Jack, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to, I'm not gonna say dumb down my plan, but really Jack, the stuff that the White Stripes was doing, it already kind of sounded like breaks. It sounded like it could be sampled. You know what I'm saying? And Jack is a huge hip hop head for people that don't know. Like before we would go on stage, we listening to Wu-Tang Clan. We listened to all 90s before we go on stage every night, which is bugged out. But anyway, so when Jack, as far as the touring band, when I came on board to be a part of the touring band, the thing about transposing the White Stripe stuff, it was only 2 people. You only had a guitar and drum sound, right? But Jack wanted to bring 3 other musicians that would add other layers. So our challenge was, how can we take these songs that only have 2 instruments and add these other, bass, keys? But I don't want to get too far off the question. Basically, Jack style I had to learn all of his catalogs from the Rack on tours. Well, a lot of that stuff kind of already had a hip hop overtone to it because, as hip hop producers, they were sampling that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then as far as John B, R&B, you know what I'm saying? And the essence of that is still hard and soul. It's still, those are produced tracks. They club tracks. So it's just all about the pocket. Doom, doom. It's dance music. So for those people, that was the formula. You know what I'm saying? So that's my approach because it's elementary. Anybody, I always say when I'm performing, if somebody's not bobbing their head or tapping their feet, well, we ain't doing our job. Doesn't matter what genre, you know what I'm saying? It can be jazz. When you're playing, depending on the jazz you're playing, the drummer is keeping a hi-hat. It's like a constant, it's like a metronome. But he's going crazy on everything else. But that metronome, that's what keep people's, you know what I'm saying? They keep the time. So for me, that's my mentality when I'm doing all of those styles. Just respecting the original producers, because like as a producer myself, I will be very offended if I went to a show, I saw somebody playing what I produce, and they didn't respect, the beat. They played their own version. It's like, nah, fam, nah, that ain't it. So basically, to answer the question, it's, although I may veer off, and even in a country setting, sometimes they have the different rules, dynamics. You know what I'm saying? Which means when you go loud and soft, rock and roll is a louder genre. Everything is really loud. You know what I'm saying? R&B is kind of smooth. Hip hop is hard, but there's still a pocket. Have you heard that term, pocket? Are you familiar with the? Yeah. So all of those genres, regardless of what I'm playing, that's what I'm known for, having this pocket. So that's what I'm bringing to the table, and I'm playing from the heart and soul. So it's really no. For me, it's really no different. As long as I'm playing from the heart, respecting the original compositions, it's still all the same. Because producers are sampling country, you know what I'm saying, and making hip hop. They sampling. That's what Dilla did. He was sampling everything. So that's my approach. I'm thinking hip hop when I'm playing this stuff.
Be sure to check out the history of gangster rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
It would be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with N.W.A.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.